Nancy Cordes, thank you for that, Nancy. We want to turn now to Dan Senor, senior advisor to Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan in the 2012 presidential campaign. Dan, let's begin with Rex Tillerson. What are you hearing from the folks up there on Capitol Hill about this pick?
Well, I think the Democrats will be pretty unified in opposition to him, primarily because of climate change issues. And ExxonMobil is one of the largest companies in the world, certainly the largest energy company in the world, but also because of the timing of the news we're getting on the Russian hacks and the complete, as we see this morning out of Syria, the complete failure of our policy vis-a-vis Putin, and concerns that he has too close a relationship with Putin. So that's the Democrats' focus. There are some Republicans, not all, but there are some Republicans who are raising serious questions, particularly about Russia. Rex Tillerson opposed sanctions against Russia even after Putin's maneuver into Crimea and really kind of compromising Ukraine's sovereign integrity. So real questions. Now, the Democrats only need 3 Republican votes to sink his nomination. I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I would bet against it happening, but I will say there's going to be a tough confirmation process. The hearings are going to be real, and keep in mind, every administration typically goes through one failed nomination fight. And, you know, whether it was George H.W. Bush's nominee for Defense Secretary, John Tower, whether it was Tom Daschle's selection by Barack Obama, just never got off the ground. There will probably one that will go down here. Who knows which one? Right now, I'm hearing the Democrats focusing on this one.
There's a piece in the New Yorker that really speaks of ExxonMobil essentially as a corporate sovereign. Yeah. And under Rex Tillerson, having had a foreign policy unto itself. Yeah. And yet, it has also been pointed out that now the senior national security team has no one on it who has implemented, crafted foreign policy at all. Are those issues as well here?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's I think Trump's building out his national security team. It involves a lot of things. It involves diplomacy experience, national security experience. It involves management experience. The State Department has 60,000, 70,000 employees. It's a sprawling, confusing, often non-responsive bureaucracy. So the job of Secretary of State is not only managing the building, managing this massive global operation, but it is also strategically guiding it. And, you know, running ExxonMobil is big and it's impressive. It's not running the State Department. And you combine that with big questions about what Tillerson thinks about these issues. What does he actually think should be U.S. policy vis-a-vis Putin? What does he actually think should be U.S. policy going forward in the implementation of the Iran deal?
How much issue is timing as well? I mean, you mentioned it, but when we're not talking about Rex Tillerson, we're talking about Russian meddling in the national election and an increasing consensus about it.
If you were rolling out the Tillerson nomination, which I think actually will probably be fine, but it will be bumpy between now and then. When you're rolling out the Rex Tillerson nomination, you probably don't plan for headlines that same weekend about the intelligence community having serious concerns about Vladimir Putin's, not just some obscure Russian, Vladimir Putin's meddling in the U.S. election.
And it's not just that meddling. It's also, isn't it, that the president-elect himself has regarded all such suggestion essentially as ridiculous for months now.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely, and is now getting into a public spat with the intelligence community over it. And he, during his campaign, has talked about a realignment with Russia and the U.S. relationship with Russia. So now you are seeing, you know, him appointing people who could be the sort of manifestation of that, and that's where the serious questions will start to come in.
You have obviously worked with Mitt Romney. His name also existed on a short list. Interestingly, Roger Stone, longtime Trump confidant, I suppose, did come out and say, look, it was just Donald Trump torturing Mitt Romney for opposing him during the general election. What did you make of that candidacy? What do we know? How close was that?
I thought it was close. I think it was down to Tillerson and Romney. I know that Romney and Donald Trump spoke a lot over the last couple of weeks, in person, over the phone. Mike Pence and Mitt Romney spoke a lot. Reince Priebus and Mitt Romney spoke a lot. Other members of Trump's inner circle and Romney spoke a lot. It seemed like, A, they were trying to get to yes. There were some differences, but they were trying to get to yes. And B, as someone who I've been critical of Trump over the year, it was a serious process. I've seen these processes where a president-elect is trying to recruit or interview a potential nominee for a serious cabinet position. this was more serious than I've seen it.
Did it begin after that first meeting in Bedminster?
Yes. Well, there were 2 phone calls before that. There was a phone call between Pence and Romney, and there was a phone call between Trump and Romney. Okay. And then the first sit-down face-to-face was in Bedminster. But it was... These people wouldn't have been wasting their time. I mean, Trump and his team would not have been expending all this time and all this energy just to tweak Romney. It's ludicrous that that's how they'd be spending their time. I don't buy it.
Quickly, I got to get you out of here on this one. Why then did we see members of the inner circle, such as Kellyanne Conway, publicly attack Mitt Romney, ostensibly with the permission of the president-elect?
I think there were some in Trump's circle who believed that that Romney's attacks against Trump in March of this year, were just a bridge too far. Mm-hmm. And that there are certain parts of Trump's base that would find it unacceptable. That is partly why there was public discussion about whether or not Romney should issue some kind of apology, whether or not Romney should say he was wrong in what he said, which he never did. He was forward-looking. He didn't want to relitigate the past. He wanted to focus on where we go from here. He has praised what Trump has been doing since the election. He didn't want to get into what was. But there were a lot of people saying, no, you have to get into what was if you're going to join this team.
If Rex Tillerson comes up short, is it Mitt Romney?
I don't know. I mean, I think if Tillerson doesn't make it, they will quickly look for someone. Because keep in mind, this is one of those positions you want in office right away. Yeah. Right away. When Donald Trump is sworn in, you want your nominee for Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury, and Attorney General sworn in that day. And they will move quickly to a quick confirmation candidate.
Dan Senor, I have to say goodbye, but it hurts me on the inside.